Hello, beautiful people. As always, welcome back. Just finished having a conversation with someone who intended to sue a bank under the Constitution. Specifically, they brought up the need to bring up the claim of Fourth and Fifth Amendment tethered to 18 U.S.C. 241, 242. There are two flaws to that. The first flaw is that 18 U.S.C. 241, 242 is under criminal claims. This right here. Conspiracy against rights. Two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate a person in a state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district, the free exercise or enjoyment of a right or privilege secured by him by the constitutional laws of the United States, or because of his having so exercised the same, or so and so shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years. Whenever you see two stipulations of fines and imprisonment, the presumption or the premise of these stipulations is that a criminal act has occurred. I'll repeat, wherever imprisonment is involved and fines are involved, the premise to fines and imprisonment are criminal acts. So now you say you want to sue a bank under 18 U.S.C. 241, 242. Even the Title 18 itself tell you that is a contention of crimes, criminal procedure. At North America, when you bring criminal claims, there's a need to involve the British Accreditation Registry based on the sovereign immunity doctrine that has its origin in the 11th Amendment. That's one way. The second way is you have to bring a grand jury indictment. So if you say you want to bring Title 18 claim, do you know how to bring indictment by information or through other means? If you're not using a lawyer. And two, do you even know that this is a criminal contention? So the body of what you're attempting to use, I'm not trying to discourage that specific party or anyone else watching this, but I'm telling you, be competent. Let competence precede you. Did you know if you want to bring criminal claims, those are the two ways you're going to do it? Banks, especially the specific conversation that I just had a couple of minutes ago, their situation is dealing with a federal credit union. The fact that it has that term federal in it has nothing federal involved. Synonymous with the Federal Reserve Bank. There's absolutely nothing federal about Federal Reserve banks or the Federal Reserve note. There's absolutely nothing that acts as a reserve functionally within the Federal Reserve notes. Those notes are supposed to be that which people use as currency, but the reserve itself is supposed to be something different. But given the fact that the reserve and that which people are serving as currency are the same, then the banks can't keep a fraction of that which the currency is. So they have to do fractional reserve banking because they're in catch 22. Well, same thing applies when it comes to people trying to sue Federal Credit Union. There's nothing federal about it. In other words, what I'm telling you is that there's this thing called National Currency Act right here. If you want to sue any banks and you've yet to at least lay your eyes on this thing called the National Currency Act, aka National Bank Act, and you've yet to read all the subsequent sections, then you are playing catch up in a way that will harm you. Besides the fact that 18 U.S.C. 241, 242 is a criminal claim to which there are very specific ways to bring in it. And two, the party that you're trying to sue, that Federal Credit Union, did you know that its charter is different from charters of national banks? Did you know that? The public law governing federal credit unions is slightly different from the National Bank Act, although the regulations is applicable with National Bank Act. When it comes to the use of security and certain criteria, it's a bit different. In other words, that Federal Credit Union is a private entity. Did you know that Constitutional Bill of Rights claims against private entities like the Federal Credit Union are barred? Did you know that constitutional claims that you're trying to bring in, aka private right of action, cannot be made against Federal Credit Union if you're using the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, let alone this right here, which the premise most people don't know, which we've explained. It being criminal claims, it has very specific criteria of how criminal claims are brought. federal or state jurisdiction. But as it pertains to the fact that federal credit unions are private entities, to which, although they are regulated by the National Currency Act and other public law, their foundation and origin is actually not stipulated or confined to the National Currency Act. And that thing called the United States Bill of Rights that you're attempting to use to fetter your claims to, because you're saying, well, 18241 says that it violated Constitution, I will sue them. One, this is a criminal claim. Do you know how to bring a criminal claim? By indictment? If not, then they will want you to use a lawyer based on sovereign immunity. And two, the applicability of the one you're trying to sue when it comes to that Constitution that you're saying that they've conspired or violated isn't applicable. That the Fourth and Fifth Amendments restrict only government actions. It is well settled that the Fourth and Fifth Amendments restrict only government actions, meaning only those purporting to be government can be held liable using that Bill of Rights, because that's the reason why the Constitution of the United States was created. But did you know that subsequent private banks were created even during the Civil War, where each state had their own currency? Those state banks that had their own currency and their own notes, those are private banks. And although certain laws were passed to abolish it because they wanted to create a treaty as a uniform within the United States so that a uniform currency will be passed, after a settlement of the war took place, no one really won the war, and no, quote, slave was freed. It was a settlement. And when that settlement was made, it was agreed that certain private banks would be created and certain things would not apply to them. Did you know that if you want to start suing banks, these are the foundation? This is how comprehending what really happened functionally in society around you still affects the things that are going on right now. A federal credit union is one of those private banks. The complete 27-minute video is posted on the Patreon page. Take care. That's a lot.